Hey guys, Joel Prue here from the Home Recording Network. Today I wanted to make a quick video on how to master music at your home using only plugins. When I first started in audio, mastering was a bit of a mystery to me. There wasn't a lot out there talking about what it was or explaining what it was exactly. There wasn't a lot of tutorials out there showing me how to do it. So I figured I'd make one and show you guys what I do so that maybe you guys could start to get some better masters out of your home studio. Mastering is basically just making an improvement on the mix, right? Making the mix sound better than it was before the master, and also making sure that it translates well to other listening systems. So I'm going to show you guys how I typically master a song, and if you guys have any questions, be sure to let me know. Thanks. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how I mastered a jazz song by the artist Spontaneous Groovin' Combustion, and this music was played, produced, and mixed by the artist himself. So I'm going to leave a link for them so you can check them out if you're interested or you like jazz. The artist is a very talented musician, very talented horn player by the name of Warren Keller, who came up with all this music, and this song will be on the radio, so we have to make sure it is a good master. First, I just want to talk about how you always hear people say, do not master your own music. And I used to think it was a bunch of BS, but over the years, I've realized how much more beneficial it is to have someone master your song, because if you're mastering your own music, the master is probably not going to change much because the mix is how you like it. So, if you can have someone else master for you, it's probably your best bet. But that being said, a lot of us don't have the money to send our tracks somewhere else every time we want something mastered. So, I do master my own band's music. It's probably not the best idea, but I do it. And I realize a lot of other home studio owners are just going to go ahead and do it themselves. And it is what it is. So this song is called Jackie's New Car, and what I'm going to do real quick is just play you a bit of the master track and switch back and forth between the original so you can hear the difference. It's obviously going to be a little bit louder, but just want you guys to hear before and after the master. So I'll probably level match these in the end and show you the difference again. But when we're mastering, we shouldn't be trying to make a crazy change to the song, right? We want to keep the artist's vision intact. We just want to spice it up a little bit and make it sound more powerful than the original track. So the first thing I do when I go to master a song is make 2 tracks and then just copy the track down so I have the original to listen to while I'm working on this mastered track. I also always take the fader of the mastered track down to -0.1 because I have had some instances where I've sent masters out and I left the fader at 0 dB, and the limiter wasn't doing its job, and even though it said it wasn't clipping, there was still some artifacts in the recording afterwards. So I always, just to make sure, pop it down to -0.1 dB. So I'm going to bypass all my plugins on here except for the first one. So the first thing I do when I'm mastering is add a multiband compressor, and this is a really cool trick to give some life to a song. So what I'm doing with this multiband compressor is just compressing the middle 2 bands here. So there's not any compression being done on this high end band or this low end band. And these middle 2 bands are the bulk of the song. So this top band is going from about 10K to 2K, and then this middle one is going from 2K to about 150. So I'm really doing the bulk of my mastering work with this multi-band compressor, but you have to be very careful here because you can easily screw up a song with one of these multi-bands. So what I'm essentially doing here is I'm compressing these middle two bands and then adding makeup gain back to them so that they are the same level of volume as they were before they were compressed. And what this does is it brings up the quieter instruments and notes in the song, making the song sound more full. First, I just want to start by showing you guys what this is doing to the song. So I'm going to start with it off and then turn it on and keep bypassing it so you guys can actually hear the fullness it's adding to this song. Did you hear how much life left the song once this compressor was off? So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do this. So I usually start by soloing one of these bands and then taking my threshold down so that I can start to see some compression happening. Once that happens, the band's obviously going to get quieter, so I will add some output gain back. And then I will check by bypassing this compressor to see if the volume stays the same before and after compression. So I'm just going to play this band soloed and then turn the compressor on and off, and you guys can hear how before and after compression this band is relatively the same level of volume. It doesn't sound like much has been done, but these little changes really add up and can make a song sound really good. So the only thing to watch out with this trick is your attack time. Make sure it's not too quick, right? We want to let a lot of that transient through, so it's kind of a slower attack. And then the release should be kind of bouncing with the music, so just watch how the band comes back up. It's kind of bouncing with the song. One other thing to keep in mind is I have a really low ratio here, so 1.4 to 1, and then the knee is set to a soft knee. So I did the same thing with the higher band, so I'll solo that band, and I will just turn the compressor on and off so you can hear how it's the same volume before and after. The next plugin I usually move to after the multiband compressor is this BX Digital version 3, which is just a MidSide processor. So it has this left side that works on the middle of your mix, and then another side here on the right that works on the sides or the stereo sections of your mix. So when it comes to the middle of the mix, I didn't really do too much. So I have a high pass filter up to 25 hertz. So this is pretty typical when mastering. Usually up to 25 or 30 hertz I'll do. So we're just rolling everything off, the low end rumble below 25 hertz here. Next, I thought this song needed a bit more bottom, so I just added an EQ here at 60 hertz, which is kind of where the kick drum is, and I did a boost of 0.7 dB, not too big, but I'll boost this for you so you can hear what it sounds like. And the cool thing about this EQ is when you make a move here, it will solo the mid, so you can just hear how it's affecting the mids. So here you go. Moving on to the sides of the mix, what I did was I just rolled everything off to 90 hertz. So the sides really don't need, or they shouldn't have, all the low end in it. The middle has the bass, the kick, so we want all that low end in the middle. So I usually take it up to about 90 or 100 hertz, but I will play this for you and just move the filter up so you can hear what it's doing. Another cool feature of this plugin is you can mess with the stereo width of the mix, so you can make the sides wider. I chose just to give it a little bump, so it starts here at 100. I just moved it up to 105%, but I will play this for you and really exaggerate it so you can hear what this can do to a mix. It's pretty cool. Now, we don't want to spread this out too much, but it is a nice feature to have. So usually we'll give a little bit of a stereo spread to my masters. Next, I added the virtual tape machine, which just adds some warmth and some subtle saturation. This isn't supposed to be a dramatic change, but I do have it on the half 2-track setting, which does add a tiny bit of a bass bump. If that's too much, you can come into settings and move the bass alignment down if you want, but I thought it sounded pretty good on this. So this is just adding some excitement to the mix, so I'll start with it off and bring it in, see if you can tell the difference. All right, so this is just emulating as if the song was, recorded down to tape. I usually add this on all my master buses or masters just to give it more of an analog vibe. The next plugin was kind of an afterthought that I messed with for a while after the master was almost done. So it's just Pro Q2 on here, but I have it set in mid-side. So these are only middle bumps, and I have a bump at around 60 and then again around 110, and I just wanted some more of the kick drum and the bass to come out. So I'll just play it before and after. It's a subtle difference. Next, something that can always clean a mix up a little bit is some high-end transient limiting. So just some compression on the very highs of the mix. So I use this FF Pro DS, and they have this high-end transient limiting preset. And what I do is I'll just bring down the threshold until I'm getting some compression on the very highs of the mix. Again, this will help it translate to smaller speakers and sound more pleasing on smaller speakers and things like that. So as you can see here, I'm only getting a couple dBs of gain reduction. Nothing crazy there. And lastly, I'm just adding the limiter from Steven Slate. So I have all the settings really where they started at, and what I did was just add some gain to it, and I look for the RMS to be around negative 15 dB. So this is what actually makes the song louder. So I will start with it off and turn it on. So it used to really matter a lot how loud you mastered your music, but with streaming today, it doesn't really matter because once you upload it to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you use, it's gonna level match it with everything out there. And if you master too loud, it's gonna overcompress your song. So I usually like to keep my songs around -15 RMS. Um, but depending on what you want it to be used for, it could be mastered quieter or maybe even a little louder. Now, there are other tools you can use, just so you know, to check your mix. So Logic has this multimeter, and it has a correlation meter to make sure everything's in phase. So you want it on this side of you want it towards the green, obviously not towards the red, but there's also a tool in here to make sure that your stereo spread is, in the center. So check this out. And tools like this will also show things like RMS and the peak of your song. Another important aspect of mastering is always be referencing another song so you can kind of gauge the low end that you need to be at, things like that. So for this song, I used another track that I mastered by Spontaneous Groove and Combustion, and I just kind of compared the two to make sure that the low end was around the same level and volume. First, I just level matched the tracks so they're around the same volume, and then I just switch back and forth like this. And those sound pretty similar to me, so I thought we were good to go. Lastly, I just wanted to show you I level match the original and the master, and I just want to flip them back and forth so you can hear the fullness that we got out of the master. Guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to download your free Ultimate Home Studio Mix Guide. I made this for you guys so you could start getting your mixes sounding better. There's a lot of great information in there. And be sure to reach out if you have any questions or if you need any help with your mixes. Thanks.